This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be exploring through nature, through the woods. We're going to be crossing some streams. And we'll be trying to avoid the bears. Today we're looking at Bear Valley. This is a new game from Stronghold Games by designer Carl Chudyk, who has done very popular games like Impulse and Glory to Rome and Motainai and Red 7. So this is his latest. It plays 2 to 6 players, plays in 15 to 30 minutes. This is a exploration game with a racing game and a press your luck element. Let's take a look. At the beginning of the game, you get to pick one of these 6 characters, which has a specific color. On the back, there's some special abilities that you'll use in an advanced game. Now we have a game set up for 3 players, a short game. There's different configurations that you can use to set this up. The rulebook has different ways that you can set it up, or you can make up your own. This is a 3-player short game. You're trying to get all the way to the end of the river where there is that campsite. First one there wins. All the players will start on the starting camp, you'll see here, and they'll start venturing out and exploring. Let me show you how the base game works. On your turn, you're going to be either exploring or traversing, moving through the different areas. There's this draw deck that you will draw from. So on the first player's turn, they're trying to explore, so they'll draw a card from the deck, and they can put it anywhere where they're where their guy is at, where they're trying to explore. Now, some of these cards have some things on them, but for the base game, you pretty much ignore a lot of these. And so what you're trying to do is maybe I place this, like that, and on the first turn's a little different where you can only move a certain amount of spots. But let's say this was what we call 1 o'clock, because it was the first move, and 2 o'clock, essentially we'd move him there. And the first player can only move 1 on the first turn, and so on and so forth. So let's say it's the yellow player's turn. He gets this, and you can only explore out where you are. So let's say this player goes like this. That's called 1 o'clock. Now this has 2 different things. It has a bridge and it has a normal thing. They're different spots on the card. You can never move through another person, and so this place, maybe if there's someone on the bridge, someone could be on the bottom, but you both can't be on the same spot on a card. So that was 1 o'clock. Let's say they do it again, and they have another card for 2 o'clock. Now with this one, it looks like we can only basically place like this, and you'll see that this card here actually has a flashlight. Again, that's for the advanced game we'll talk about later. And this player, the most they can move is 2 as well. So they're gonna go 1, 2 because it's just the first turn of the game. And that's this player's turn. And let's look a little closer. Let's say they explore over here for 1 o'clock. They explore again, 2 o'clock. And they're gonna place this card up here just a little bit like this. And then they're going to move, let's just say they move. Anytime you come in contact with a water, whether it's a lake or one of the rivers, you have to stop right then. So this player moves, and then he stops. So that's kind of how the game works, but there's some more rules, so let me get into those. Let's say it's this player's turn. They're here for 1 o'clock, they're going to explore, so they'll go like this. For 2 o'clock, they're going to move. Now, they don't actually move their piece, they just put their finger there because they might not move. So now they're going for 3 o'clock, and they're going to come up with a card. Now they're going to explore this, but now anytime, like this, we're starting with 3 o'clock here, the number of exits here are 3. And this would have been their 3 o'clock move, was exploring, so they don't get to move, they get lost, and they have to stay there, and their turn's over. The same for 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. On that o'clock, if there's exactly that many exits, they basically have explored, but they can't move. Now if this third card instead of this was a bear card, you automatically would also have to stop because you can't go through the bear. Now there's a little different rules if it's your first card. If you come up with a bear for your first card, your 1 o'clock explore, you actually, because it's so early in the day, can evade the bear and then explore and move to the next card, and then your turn would be over. So you get a little bit of passing the bear only if it's the first move of your turn, or say 1 o'clock. Otherwise, when you see a bear, your turn's over and you can never move through that card. Now there's some other exceptions on 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, like the bear, where if this player went here for 1 o'clock, now you can never put the cards like this, they're always going this way. You know, I could pick, here or here, for example, but I line up with one of the exits. And then I go for 2 o'clock and I get this card. Well, I can't put it here because there's already cards here. This one does not have an entrance to here because it's all blocked. If it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock and you're blocked, you actually get to, because it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you essentially had enough time and you are now on this through this brush. So just, again, the first turn and the first 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock each turn, each round essentially gives you a little bit more leeway if you get stuck. Also about these bears, if you are 7 o'clock or later and you explore and you find a bear, you've been eaten and you're out of the game. Now there's 2 other cards in the base game that have some ramifications. Here's the mountain. If you traverse onto the mountain, you must stop because it's a mountain. On your next turn, if you go to explore, you can only move 1 spot moving off the mountain. It just makes it harder to get on and off. And the final card that might do something is called the forest or the woods. And you'll see there's these different number of those stones on there. Now he wants to go here, and there's 3 sort of stones there. He would explore and say, I'm trying to go here. Now when he explores, he sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exits. So he must put this on a spot that has 6 stones. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he has to go here and move there from here, as opposed to, going where he really wanted to go. That's pretty much the base game. The first one here is the winner. Now, in the advanced game, you flip the character over, and they all have this top thing that hurt them they can't do. For example, this person has vertigo, and they can't climb a bridge section, and they can't use a rope. We'll get to that. But essentially, this makes it a little bit harder as well. Now, this advanced game adds a lot of different equipment. Now, here's gold. So when you explore a card there, you can get gold. And if you end your turn there, essentially when you start, your next turn you move, you will take this coin and kind of put it in front of you. And one of the things you can do with this gold is if you have more gold from somebody, you can move right through them. Where in the base game, you can never move through somebody. If you have more gold than someone, you can actually move through them. That's one use of the gold. If instead of gold, you found a canoe, essentially a canoe goes here. And when you end up picking this up, this allows you to kind of either cross a river or kind of go down a river. And that turn that you use the canoe, you don't stop when you hit the water itself, and it ends up on the space that you kind of used first. If you'd found a telescope and went there and used it, essentially you get to explore from everywhere where that telescope is basically for free for not using any time. If you had found a machete, you can use this to sort of explore or move through places where there's hedges and there's not paths. If you had found a flashlight, you can use this flashlight later to go through a cave, which essentially allows you to go underground and explore and move up to 3 different more cards, and you don't have to follow normal moving rules because you're underground and it doesn't cost you extra time. Or you can also move from one cave to any other cave. If you have a rope and you take this, when you go to one of these cards, you can basically go from the path to the bridge or the bridge to the path. It allows you to go up or down. If you find a picnic basket, you get to use this, and you actually get to use it to get past a bear, but it stays there and everybody else can get past him as well. Also, if you're alone on the starting camp at the end of your turn, you can also get any equipment you'd like, any one equipment. And if you move on to a storefront, essentially you get the market, you get to go there and trade gold for equipment or multiple equipments for less equipment. It gives you a way to do that, or you can't move on it if you can't trade. There's also a new win condition where if you have 3 of these gold coins and you end your turn here, you can win that way as well into the starting camp. There's also a contingency move where if I was here and I explored the bear and I can't move, you have a contingency move, and from where you're at, you're actually able to move into an already explored place. Gives you sort of a back door and something you might be able to do if you're usually stuck. And there's yet another way to play where you can play with these different enchantment cards. If you do that, then when you play with the character cards, not only do you have the bad thing, but you have the good thing. For example, if this player uses these new enchantment cards, one of them is the mushroom, whenever this player begins to turn on the mushroom, for each explorer that they make, they can basically get a new card if she doesn't like it. So that's a really cool ability. So instead of just having a bad thing, you have a good thing. Now, normally, what happens is you have these different things. Now, if you move here and you start your turn on some of these, you get a special ability. And the mushrooms is basically, if anybody's here, they can re-explore one card and put it to the bottom of the deck, where this player's special ability on top of that is they could get to do that as many times as they want on their turn. The butterflies basically give them the spirit of the forest, and they can basically, they will never get lost from the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock matching exits thing. And if you start your turn on the fox, essentially you can traverse through where people are. You can't land on them, but normally you can't move through people. So if this person was here, you can't go through them. But with the fox, you can traverse through where people are. And in addition to that new way to win, which was getting 3 gold at the start camp, you're still trying to get to the end camp as well, and that wins the game just like the base game. All right, well, there you have it. Well, I saw some things about this earlier, and I like little quick, easy games that seem to have a little bit of bite. Carl Chuddock's obviously known for having a lot of decision-making in his game, and I realized that this was going to be probably a lighter game, maybe similar to Red 7, one of his lighter games that I really do like. And I have to say, I've played some of his other games like Matai and stuff, and they just did not do it for me. It's just not my style, but I did like Red 7 quite a bit, so I was hoping this was going to fit that niche of Carl Chuddock's interesting use of cards, but in a lighter thing. Now, the reason why I liked Red 7 of his is because it was simple rules, but the depth there, a lot of thinking, a lot of decision making, and that's why I liked it. I was hoping this was going to be more of the same. Unfortunately, what I've found personally is that the decision making isn't deeper than Red 7. In fact, it's probably less, but the complexity of the rules for a simple game is more. So it kind of went in a different direction than I had hoped, and it's one that's the reason why I probably don't like this game that much. Now let's go over this for a few minutes. If you are going to be the person that reads the rules and goes through this and tries to teach the game, it's a slog. This rule book is 40 pages long. Now granted, it's a small rule book, but even if you cut that in half, a 20-page rule book for a game that takes 15 to 30 minutes tells you how many little rules and examples I had to show because of the game's sort of, I call it sort of more of a fiddliness, but it's like little rules here and there. So it's really hard to learn from this rule book. It took me 5 plays to really feel like I had everything down, and even then, I still had to flip, not for what does the canoe do, but where do you leave the canoe and where can you go and where do you leave, like there's all these little things of, okay, I get what this does, I can take the flashlight and move into the cave, but how does it actually work exactly? And where do I put the flashlight when I'm done? And what can I do? This game really needed a FAQ, an FAQ, and I know that there's sort of one sort of starting on Board Game Geek, but through blind play testing, I can't imagine that a ton of questions came up for a ton of items that should have been included with the rules here. And a lot of the rules of the different things could have been easily listed as bullets. The way they worded things on rules was really hard to learn such a simple game. Now, with that being said, if you come to the table and I just teach you how to play the game and I know all the rules, you're going to sit down and go, oh, this is easy, this is simple. I'm just going to move, I'm going to explore some little things here. I can't get on my 3rd o'clock, I can't get a 3 exits or I stop. There's some, little exceptions for 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock where you can kind of not get stuck. You can pass bears, some little exceptions there. So when you sit down and play it, it's not that bad if you're being taught the game. But even with that being said, it's quick. I wouldn't recommend the base game or a short game for anyone except little kids because it's really short, it's very simple, and it's very luck driven. You really need to play the longer game with everything, the advanced stuff, the character roles, and the equipment, and those enchantments to really make it feel like a good game for me. Because you need that. You need the time to be able to have some luck go in the wrong way in your favor, and maybe it helps somebody else. But because the game's longer and there's more decisions to make, it evens it out. So I would not play this game other than advanced, all the enchantments, and the character abilities. But when you do that, again, then you're getting into that sort of fiddliness. I hated the fact that I could not go on to the spot where the shop was if I didn't have something I could do. I hated that rule. It just made the game harder for no reason. Plus, what you could do at the shop, oh my gosh, they should have just made a table. It has to make a profit. 1 coin equals this, and it's just like, ugh. Anyway, I wish I could say some positive things about this. It's not a terrible game. It's just getting into it, and the game type and length that I think makes the game good, unfortunately at the same time as its downfall as well with all those little fiddly rules. So unfortunately, it's not one that I can recommend. If you're going into it as a Carl Chuddock fan and hoping for just a very simple game that you're going to have a little bit of fun exploring, maybe a little fun pressure luck, and you're okay with sitting down and understanding you're going to be flipping through rule books a little bit for each of the little things, then if you have those expectations set out, then go off and have fun with the game. But don't think it's going to be the next Matai. Don't think it's going to be like a Red 7 where it's simple rules and lots of complexities there. It's the opposite, unfortunately. So for me, this was a pass, and that's Bear Valley.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter, making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.